So glad you could join us for our Home Builders Action Council meeting today. Today's meeting will be with a special presenter. We have Ben Larson with us, I'm very happy to say. And I'm Susan Harris. I work with New Buildings Institute, and one of the initiatives that I focus on is the Advanced Water Heating Initiative. And we are part of the Home Builders Action Council moderation and helping to bring the group together. And Paul, would you like to say a few words?
Sure. So, hey, thanks for everybody joining today. We've got Ben with us, excited to hear what he's going to be talking about. But I'm with ICF and supporting Energy Star. I think we all know the Energy Star program continues to be on a bit of a hiatus. We're still confident that the program will come back in some capacity toward the end of this year. Dollars have been floated. There's been a lot of great positive public response to the potential of the program no longer in existence. So that's been very helpful. But there are bigger macroeconomic efforts happening right now, especially the fiscal calendar and approving the next budget, which is still very much up in the air as well, which will have an impact. But for now, we remain in touch with our peers at Energy Star, and they're still open for business. They're still keeping product quality, product lists updated and tools on the website, but not too much beyond that right now while they continue to wait to see. It does feel like probability of it remaining at the federal level for ownership is increasing versus being privatized, which I think for most perspectives, that's good news. But whether it's with the EPA or the DOE remains to be seen. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that in there since people usually ask about status. But I'm happy to be here with Susan. We helped bring this group together originally, and we've kind of ebbed and flowed, but we always appreciate the open and frank feedback we get from you as home builders, and we're certainly interested to hear about what's happening in your worlds when we get to it today. But with that, I'll hand it back to you, Susan.
Great, thank you, Paul. And we do hope to have someone from the Energy Star program join us for our meeting, perhaps later in the year when more decisions have been made. And just a quick recap of the Home Builders Action Council main goals. We're here to hear from builders, from you, on heat pump water heater barriers and opportunities. We also want to provide you with the information that you need and facilitate the connections with the organizations and the people that will help make things easier for you. This is a great opportunity for us all to find common ground and get the information that's needed, kind of a competition-free zone so that we can all do better and then also have more say at the tables where conversations and decisions are being made. And with that, I would like to pass the microphone over to you, Ben, for your presentation. And would you like me to run your slides for you, or would you like to run them locally?
I'd be happy to run it. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I see I've got that ability here. I'll share. And we'll keep using PowerPoint Live. So
great.
Should be kicking up here.
And we can see your slides.
Oh, that's good. I've got black. What's my day?
Well, Ben's logging in. Ben's been a friend to AWHI from the beginning, and he's presented and shared research and contributed to field studies and such all along the way. He's a principal at Larson Energy Research. I wonder where that name Larson comes from in that title. But anyway, he's just been a great partner to us, and we're really appreciative of the knowledge and the guidance that he continues to share, not only with this builder group, but with many of the working groups. If you've participated in previous sessions, you know Ben and some of the work he and his team have done. So we're really happy to have him here today with us.
Yeah, thanks, Paul. Paul, also great to see you. But been a little bit. So
yes.
Anyway, happy to be back here. I see it's a pretty small group today, so jump in at any point in time with questions. Let's cover stuff that's interesting to you. So the presentation today kind of kicks off with this motivation piece. This came to me, I guess, secondhand. There's news of a builder in Portland, Oregon. They had recently constructed 400 new townhomes, so they all shared wall units. They were built to Energy Star specifications, and then also built to the EPS, which is a program run by the Energy Trust of Oregon, above code program. So it's provides financial incentives, for these above code homes. And one of the big ways to comply with the specs is to put a heat pump water heater in your dwelling. And so the builder did that and put the heat pump water heater in a bedroom closet in most of these units, and then discharged air to a duct by a duct to a vented attic. So the story here is that we heard back, not it wasn't resounding success. There was a pretty high rate of occupant noise complaints, and then the building inspectors, I think for later units, later in the construction process, started to tag the discharge air ducting to an attic as a potential for moisture problems. So what do we, what can we do about that? Both of those problems. And like this goes back to sort of like the root cause, and also the root solution for working with heat pump water heaters in new construction is basically consider their location in the floor plan from the outset. That really helps address a lot of the problems. And a lot of good news here is that as an industry, we figured out this kind of problem before. So not exactly with heat pump water heaters, right? Because these are all new. But we've done this with other appliances. So, 50, 60, 70 years ago, we didn't have clothes washers and dryers in houses or dishwashers, right? I mean, they weren't that common. So when they started to be included in construction, they got shoehorned into basements or garages or too small kitchens. And they were just kind of looked out of place. But as they became more common, all of our floor plans have adapted to that. And so, we can do that, use some of those same tools for heat pump water heaters to make them commonplace. Here's an example. I was looking for floor plans that you can rent in Portland today. This one has got a washer dryer called out here in the main floor bathroom, right? So a stacked washer dryer, and it's built, there's an alcove here built to accommodate the washer dryer specifically for it. So, that's what we're doing. Just to continue this clothes washer dryer water heater comparison, are they about the same? Well, they're kind of similar in size. Maybe not side by side, but when you stack them up, right? And actually the stacked washers and dryers here take up more space than your water heater tank. When then I started to think about, what are the sort of specific installation requirements and parameters for, these kinds of appliances, and there's a whole lot of similarities. I mean, you kind of go down the list. Their footprint is actually pretty similar. User access, also similar. Power supply, a 240 volt 30 amp circuit is what we need. If you had a gas powered dryer, you needed a gas line. Not as common anymore. But all these things need cold water inlet. You need a drain for both your wash and well, part code there. For setting up the storage tank. On the exhaust front, I'd argue that closed washers and dryers are harder to deal with because you need to duct the dryer exhaust for the traditional dryer anyway. With heat pump water, you don't have to actually to duct that. It's an option, but a lot of the time you usually don't need it. And then the kind of two big ones here is, they make sound, right? And it's whenever they're operated and whenever they run. And then on the thermal impact front, the dryers actually, they create waste heat in the space. And the water heaters create out, call it waste cooling a lot of the time. So kind of keeping those in mind, and then looking at what we can do to mitigate those occupant noise complaints from those 400 units built in. Sorry, my screen just reset on me.
Just so that you know, for us, we see the location slide, and it seems normal.
Great.
It's
okay, great. Good. So yeah. So a lot of so solving these noise complaints comes back to floor plans, and I realize we're challenged in townhomes and multifamily buildings because the floor plans are small, right? We don't we're in just smaller spaces, and so you're closer to everything, and the closer you are to anything that makes a sound, the louder it is. So here's a list of kind of do's and don'ts for the installs. So we want to place them, if we can, in rooms that are greater than 450 cubic feet. But definitely, we don't want to locate this in the bedroom closet. And as we've seen here, that this is plenty irritating to a number of those occupants. A good rule of thumb here is to place at least one solid wall between the water heater and the sleeping spaces or the occupied spaces. And I like to say sort of like 1+. So if you have like a wall and then an additional closet, that's great. But just a closet door is not good enough usually to dampen the sound from almost anything. Definitely don't want to discharge cold air where it can be felt as a cold draft. We do this is kind of a bonus thing. We want to locate our water heater close to all of our hot water use fixtures. This is going to decrease wait time and increase occupant satisfaction with the overall water heating system. We don't need to actually worry about the cool discharge air from an annual energy perspective. We got loads of studies here showing that in all climates that we come out way ahead, which is one of the reasons we've got programs incentivizing heat pump water heater installs basically across the country. If we are in a room where we're less than 450 cubic feet, we want to provide an adequate thermal resource, and what we mean by that is ventilation for the water heater, and I'll get to that towards the end of the slides. What some really quick rules of thumb are for that. Another thing is we don't want to vent the discharge air across the pressure boundary. This is something that the code official flagged, and we'll come back to that. And then definitely do share all these do's and don'ts with everybody that you're working with. So general guidance when I think about installing the heat pump water heater and where they are in the floor plan. Garage and basements are great places. This is in single family detached site built. We have a great opportunity to do that. In these townhomes, this isn't available to us. So we're looking at interior locations, and we're looking at interior locations with venting. And then there's also kind of this last option. You could locate it in an exterior closet. That's kind of like an item of last resort, which often happens on more multifamily type construction. So on locating things in real floor plans. So here's an example of an existing townhome plan. And we've got 3 units here, and they all have tankless water heaters in the original plans. And so I looked at this and said, hey, what can we, what does it look like if we put a heat pump water heater there? And in this particular floor plan, we actually have enough volume and enough space in a number of those laundry rooms to put the heat pump water heater. It might be a tight squeeze in unit 2 and unit 1. In those cases, maybe we go to a stacked washer dryer to help with that space. We could also potentially borrow some room from the linen closet in unit 2. But one of the main thing on these floor plans that are setting us up for success is that we've got lots of walls between the heat pump water heater and the spaces where we in the living spaces or sleeping. So in like unit 3, right, we're in the laundry room, we've got a wall, and then we've got a bedroom closet, and all that's going to do a really great job dampening any sound. Similarly, for all those others. So I actually really like this layout and these plans. If you happen to have a garage, you could relocate that water heater on the floor plan, put it down in the garage. Again, these are the same units, and that would work if you were able to do that in your climate and in your floor plan. But a lot of the time we're stuck with small closets in our floor plans. Space is a premium for sure. So what can we do with those? How can we make the heat pump water heaters work? And how can we get the most efficient operation out of them and the most occupant satisfaction? So I did a series of studies on what sort of like the minimum install requirements were for small spaces and water heaters. These are linked in the slides down here as a phase 1 and phase 2 of the report. But the real basic summary is that if you're in a closet size space, you can get great heat pump water heater operation and performance with a louvered door, or by putting grills high and low in the closet. And so now we're exchanging a little bit of air with whatever's on the other side of that door or those grills. You can also do it with ducting if you wanted to actively sort of duct the air into an adjacent space. That also works, but that's not always needed. There's plenty of good air exchange through these passive methods with these louvers and grills. So that leads me to another floor plan here. Again, you could rent this or this unit today in Portland. And it's a great drawing of what the unit layouts look like. And of course, and most renters don't care where the water heater is, so it doesn't show up right in these drawings. I look for it. Sometimes you can find it. I'm not quite sure where it is in this townhouse. But again, no garage, and it's a nice compact, really good use of space layout. So what can we do for our heat pump water heater? I think there's actually space here to put it underneath the stairs. The water heaters are not they don't need a full 8 feet for ceiling height clearance, and I think you could do this without probably even borrowing space from that closet, that closed closet next to it. And in order to make that work, what we would do is a couple options. So one option is this passive venting approach that I was talking about. So we've got an elevation view of the sort of the stairwell, or the stairway, and you would want to locate 2 grills there, high and low, and behind that would be our heat pump water heater. Each of those grills would want to be about 150 square inches in net free area, and that's actually a pretty good size grill, but that allows for enough air exchange between the small closet and the space on basically the main space, living space, and that'll get our water heater running. quite efficiently. Other options, and I've actually seen this done in other apartment layouts, is that you could also duct the exhaust of the heat pump water heater. You probably would accomplish that in this layout by running it in a soffit out of that sort of under stair space through the kitchen area, and then I would suggest, and we've seen this, discharging the air at the refrigerator. Or sort of the back of the refrigerator. This is a pretty cool concept. So there's a little bit of cool air for sure coming out when that heat pump water heater is running, but you put it behind the refrigerator, and that's not noticed in the kitchen, especially when the refrigerator is running. You increase your refrigerator efficiency and you warm up that air just a little bit. So, a few different ways to slice this and attack this problem. So, that was kind of addressing our problem one with the noise complaints and looking at a couple of floor plans that could help with that. Problem two was a pretty interesting one here, where the inspector disliked the exhaust air discharge to the attic. And they were actually concerned, like I said in the beginning, that it would actually create a moisture problem up there and potential for mold growth. I think this is actually incorrect. I don't think there's a concern here because the attics are vented, right? And we get lots of air changes through that attic. And so mostly what's in the attic is air that's pretty similar to the outside air. Moreover, we're exhausting drier air from the heat pump water heater if we were to go into the attic. But all that said, I think we all know, arguing with code officials is not generally a path to success, right? You sometimes you could pick your battles on this one for sure. So not often worth it. But an interesting twist on this, the code official is right to provide this flag as sort of I guess guidance for installation, but I think the reasons are wrong. So it turns out when we exhaust duct the heat pump water heater across the air barrier, across the pressure boundary of the house, we end up wasting energy. We end up actually cooling the dwelling, townhouse, whatever, more than we otherwise would if we just kept that air from the water heater inside the dwelling. It also costs more to install whenever you do exhaust ducting, right? We've got just more parts, more labor, etc. So more time to put that together. So I'm a big fan of a lot of these more passive techniques, and definitely leaving the air from the heat pump water heater sort of inside the dwelling. So we kind of think about it in terms of breathing. We'd like to breathe the air that's either entirely inside the dwelling, or you could do a dual ducting scenario where you're bringing air in directly to the water heater and back out. Although that's even more complicated, and I'm again into simplicity. So, just letting the cool air stay in the space is the best move from the energy perspective, and that's because whenever we're exhausting air from the house, from the dwelling, new air is coming in from somewhere, and it's new outside air. And in the heating season, in the wintertime, the air is quite cold, and it's quite a bit, like the overall energy of that air, the energy content is much colder than if you were just dealing with the cooling associated with the heat pump water heater itself. So that's actually yeah, those are kind of my main points that I wanted to convey. We've got at the end of the slides here, which I think Susan's also going to share. I call these kind of quick hits on heat pump water heater install resources. There's like three slides in here. So, one is like what makes a heat pump water heater different from traditional water heaters. Just like a quick reference card, and this always helps me kind of think about how I want to set them up in different floor plans. There's a location checklist here. So kind of these 4 items. Again, I kind of like go down this list when I'm siting a heat pump water heater, and so this is useful. And then I was talking about a Portland, Oregon location. So that's one specific climate. And here's another card that shows sort of maybe optimal installation locations in different climates. If you've got, in a much warmer location in the southern part of the U.S., you have a few more options available to you than you are in some of these colder ones. So yeah, that was it for the slides I put together today. I'm happy to take questions.
Thanks so much, Ben. I wonder if our builders would like to join the conversation. Brian, thank you for raising your hand. Makes it nice for us to know who's talking next.
Hi. Thank you. Brian Shanks with Beazer Homes. Thank you, Ben. Truly appreciate it. You and I have traded a couple of emails in the past, and frankly, one of the questions that has often come up for us is that space constraint that you illustrated, especially with our townhome condo products. And we have actually located a couple out on a outdoor closet on a deck, a patio, if you will, just for that purpose. But I'm wondering if a couple of things, and I'm probably not going to say these completely right, but has the industry itself, in your awareness, thought about a concentric vent for venting, where it would be, and I don't know if I'm using that correctly, but a single vent that does both exhaust and supply, like some of the condensing furnaces do, et cetera. Maybe the volume of air is so much greater that wouldn't be a true possibility. But the second question is related in your, again, awareness about cold climate heat pump water heaters. Obviously, technology's advanced quite a bit with heat pump space conditioning. So I don't know if that technology's bridging the water heater side, but maybe it would help us with some of those colder northern climates a little bit. And then I guess the last thing, and I've seen this as almost a hammer now, your drinking space has been utilized by others now to suggest that one, there's degradation in performance of the unit. There's some standards on in the resident industry right now to potential derate the efficiency of water heaters because of space constraints. Where I'm wondering more out loud, are you working with the Gary Kleins and Joe Steve Brooks of the world and trying to help the industry itself catch up? Because I think that there's potentially an overreaction to some of the issues that are present. You mentioned the humidity and moisture concerns, and I that somehow, some way, there's some well thought that are maybe creating where there perhaps isn't one. Now, I don't want to sound, because risk is very important for us. National Home Builder, much like some of the others on the call here, where we're so risk averse that the thought of anything is going to really preempt us from using the product. But I put a lot out there. So
no, thanks, Brian. And yeah, those are all great questions. So the the first one you're talking about, is there a possibility of like a concentric vent to do both intake and exhaust ducting, and make that easier to install? I'm not aware of any products, and it could probably is because of the airflow requirements. We're looking at generally like 150 to 200 CFM. And more than, that's more airflow than for the condensing furnaces. For that. Doesn't mean it can't be done, but I mean, the manufacturers like to see like 8-inch ducts just for one direction. So that's already. Then your question about sort of what are we doing, what's going on in cold climates for possible installations for possible products. So you can always put one of these integrated heat pump water heaters inside, and in any climate. And I think the principle of cold climates is that it's cold in the winter, and we're cooling this a bit when the heat pump water heater is running, and is that that could be a comfort problem if the water heater is in the wrong location. So for houses where you've got heat pump water heaters in my mechanical room. The mechanical room is in the basement. The furnace is there. It's plenty, it's plenty big, right? That was an easy location for that. So there. I recognize too that it gets harder though sometimes. To locate it where that.
I mean, we garage. Yeah. Build mostly in the Smile States, lower third of the U.S. And so in the garage has been an ideal location for us where we can have cooling space, and it's an ancillary benefit. Performance when the climate zone 4, Tennessee, Middle Tennessee, getting into Indianapolis and climate zone 5. Lower than perhaps the current range. I'm wondering if technology is going to bridge the heat pump units for water heating like it's done for space conditioning.
Yeah. So right. So this is interesting. So for garages, right? So we get to like climate zone 5, and we still find water heaters in garages, because it's not really so cold that the pipes are going to freeze. That you're going to put the water heater inside because of pipe freezing concern. Water heater great to lower temperature. So LG's recent is now running into like when ambient temperatures in the mid-20s. And so that's one off the top of my head that comes in. And with the change to new refrigerants coming and the manufacturers exploring those, that might give us some more possibilities too. We'll see how that goes.
Yeah, thanks. And so that last question is the loaded question about, I don't know if we could spend hours on that. So let's not really do that. That's to me, I think, a threat to adoption of more heat pump water heaters across the board. And I'm hopeful that we'll take a purposeful look at that. I think AHRI might have gotten involved. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah. So actually, I've got some really good info on that. And first, I'll say it is a loaded question. I will say that the sky is not falling with, we're not seeing we haven't seen big, really big problems. So, Joe and Gary put that article out in the ASHRAE Journal, and we just haven't seen, like massive reports of problems related to the situation that they talked about. Certainly, you can imagine a building science scenario where it could be a problem. I think the risk is very, very, very low.
Well, that's been our experience.
Yeah.
Ben, thank you for that. But I mean, I guess my concern is that, the approach that's happened is that, there's some very well thought people that are, planting that seed of thought out there, and then the industry is potentially overreacting. ResNet in particular, in my mind, has taken a different course that, is hard for me to support. But at the very end, I'm just hoping that, what's the common sense might prevail, perhaps.
Yeah. So, and I would say a useful update I can share, AHRI, convening a standard on installation guidance. And that they just did that in August. There was a vote at their water heater technical committee. And so that's going to bring together the water heater manufacturers and other researchers, myself included, to write a document there. And I think my hope is that will address a lot of these concerns.
Yeah, I guess I would just hope that there's a broad segment, also inclusive of home builders like those that are on this call. It's good enough for a lot of scientific minds to sit in a corner, but there's still the practical world and how do we get it built. That I would truly hope that if you're involved and you see maybe a little underrepresentation of the home building industry, that you could raise your hand and say, let's include some more minds in this conversation.
That's a great idea. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.
Yeah, excellent points. Thanks, Brian. How about anyone else? Would you like to share a little bit about your experience, if it's in line with the kinds of things that we were seeing in Brian's presentation, or is there anything different that's happening for you that you could share with our group?
I'll ask a question of Ben, and that's that, our building partners have expressed a challenge of finding qualified, confident installers in their networks that they can count on and trust. And it seems to be an never-ending cycle to do that. So I'm curious to know, what impact have you been positively having on that part of the industry, that part of the supply chain, in some of the information that you're sharing here?
Yeah, Paul, I'll say I'll claim some ignorance of certain parts of the country. So most of my work is done in the Pacific Northwest, and I know that there's been quite a bit of sort of like good training of the plumbing workforce out there. But that's not universally the case.
Yeah.
Right. And the stuff is still, we've had the products out for more than 10 years, but they still feel new. And I think that continues to be a challenge.
I don't have much more to add, but supporting what Brian said, we love installations in garages. The luxury of single family detached allows us that. I think the ideas that Brian talked about in terms of how do we take the next steps in terms of stand a little bit more of an installation standard and things of that sort will be very helpful. So thank you. Enjoyed the presentation, Brent.
Great.
I wonder if there's anything that we could do to help share this information with your team members. Please let us know if you'd like me to flesh out any of the things that you see here and the slides, or if you'd like my help getting this recording into the hands of people that you think it would be helpful to. Then I think there's a lot of good information here, and I hope we can help move it into more offices and buildings, and help people to understand the concepts you're talking about here.
Yeah, I think that point, Susan, I for one, I appreciate information being shared in the form of checklists. And I think human nature, people like to be able to work right down ABC 1, 2, 3. And so I think what Ben has done with some of the tools that they've introduced, hopefully that's being received well, and it's easily adaptable to those scenarios. And there are other tools across the industry that have taken on similar formats in the past. And the feedback we get is always that those are the easiest to follow and implement. And not every item on every list applies to the scenario, but it gives the user an easy way to make sure that they're covering all bases.
Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Then I
one-
might. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, please.
Oh, okay. One more question related to the Northwest, maybe California as well. Some of the heat pump water heaters that we buy communications port, particularly in California, for I think it was a future proofing for demand response. California Energy Commission asked for it, etc. Have you seen where it's getting implemented, where utilities are communicating with it, and there are programs active now? I would love to hear examples of these, if there are any, or it's just another waste, where it's just future-proofed waste.
Yeah, Jacob, I am let's see, I've heard of both let's see, the Sacramento Municipal Utility District, I believe, running a program now, and PG&E was actually running something. I think they were calling it their Water Saver. And then but it's still early days. And so then, like, for example, I know that Tacoma Power has run pilots. And I know that in Portland General Electric is running a study, a research study. Yeah, Brian?
Yeah, I guess I was going to suggest, I think, and I might have this wrong, but BG&E, Baltimore Gas and Electric, I think is also doing some interrogatory work, perhaps. I think they asked for it to be included as part of the Empower program. Not 100% sure on that, but I've not seen any utility actually connect. I think that's what Jacob is asking.
Yeah.
And possibly SMUD or, would you say PG&E perhaps maybe doing some isolated pilot work. But outside of that, I think it's almost like kind of the utilities are asking for it, anticipating at some point in time, but I think it's still offered as opt-in. Now, Jacob, you got a better feeling on California, but is that still would be a voluntary demand response connection, even in California? Because it seems like California is always a little bit more progressive than the other 49 states.
I think my understanding is that it's an opt-in for the customer.
Okay.
But always looking for, okay, we spend money on this. What value can we bring to the customer? Is it like the VPPs where they can get $100, $200 savings a year? Sort of thing. That's where it becomes meaningful to our customers. Otherwise, it's like it's just sitting there, hardware that's wasted.
Yeah, one of the things I've heard from at various forums talking with utility employees is that they still don't feel like there's like not enough water heaters out there, and so we're in a sort of a chicken and egg problem where in order to have like a load flexible program running, we need load flexible water heaters. But in order to have load flexible water heaters, you know, be worthwhile, we need to have these load flex programs up and running. And we're not, yeah, we're not, we haven't reached critical mass yet for sure.
Well, if you know of pilots that happen and they gather data, it just would be good if they publish that data. So
Yeah,
people like the builders that are paying for this an extra amount of dollars per models that have the communications port understand that there is value, and we can explain that value to the customer.
yeah.
Yeah, I think in a similar vein, Jacob and Ben, we were in a meeting yesterday with Austin Energy, and they're getting ready for a new filing cycle. And we were talking all about heat pump water heaters, and connectivity came up. And again, it's one of those, they asked the same question: who else is doing it out there? We're interested, but you know, we're not ready to go all in. We love data, we love information, understand the ins and outs, the do's and don'ts of it. So yeah, I think there are those that are considering it, but nobody's, you know, jumped in with both feet.
That could be a really interesting topic for the AWHI All Stakeholders meeting, which is in December. So, you know, we have some time, but I'll start looking for.
And Susan, the connectivity working group, that's still active within AWHI, is it not?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
That'll be a great place to start.
Right. We may want to tap that team and understand, you know, what previously they've talked about, or if they've identified some new things, or if they've got any data to share.
That sounds good. All right. Well, I think I'm going to take back the slides.
Yeah, please.
And again, thank you, Ben, for your presentation, and thank you to our group for such good questions. I'm going to try to jump down to the end of my slides here. Bear with me. All right. And I just have a couple items here to share with you about what's coming up next for AWHI and the Home Builders Action Council. October is a big month for us. We have Heat Pump Water Heater Day on October 23rd. And this year we'll have some special events leading up to the big day. This year's theme is Inspector Gadget-like heat pump water heater. And so we're going to be pointing to the different strengths of heat pump water heaters, from you know, the way that they heat water, and have some fun with it. So I hope that you'll join us on that day. We have a program that's available on our website. And also we have some special resources in relation to that. And I see I jumped ahead too much on my slides. One thing that's come up in relation to Heat Pump Water Heater Day is the Excellence in Water Heating Awards. Nominations are due by Monday. And Clayton was the winner in the Home Builders category last year. This year could be a new winner. I hope that you all consider nominating yourself. or having someone nominate you on your behalf. The nomination form, really brief, shouldn't take very long. Please make sure you're nominated.
How many nominations have come in across all the categories so far, Susan?
I've got 10 right now.
Okay.
Actually, maybe a little bit more,
Okay.
but around 10.
And is it 6 categories?
5.
5. Okay.
5.
So, probability is still pretty high that those submitting get a chance to be recognized. So, might want to keep that in mind.
Yeah, and with that, we'll be, sharing about the winners in our newsletters and emails, and also seeing if you'd like to be involved with us later in the year. Then also, we have a new market transformation agent badge that is available to you, that you can put your picture on there. You can put your vision or mission in relation to heat pump water heaters and share that on social media. We're trying to make it really easy for you. But you can also have some fun and come up with your own images. This is our 4th heat pump water heater day, and every year people have had some really informative and fun social media messages being shared out there. So please check that out. Also, you might just notice I have a question here that I just continue to ponder. How do we convey the short versus long-term costs and benefits, and how can we do a better job with that? And how can we support you in having those conversations? And then later in the year, November, we'll have another 30-minute call. It's the roundtable meeting where we pose a question, and then everybody can tell us their thoughts on that. If you have an idea for a question or a topic, please let us know. In December will be our next all stakeholder meeting. And in the last all stakeholder meeting, we had a couple of our members who presented on behalf of the group. I'm hoping that for the next meeting, I could maybe tap one of you on the shoulder to see if you might present for a few minutes on what's top of mind for the home builders right now in relation to heat pump water heaters. And some of the conversation I heard today is, giving me some ideas. Please let me know if you have ideas, and I'll be in touch to see who might be interested in presenting for us for that meeting. All right. And with that, I just want to say thank you again. I'll be in touch to schedule a one-on-one meeting if I haven't done that with you already. Always feel free to reach out to us if you want to have some conversation or have any questions.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Have
Thank
a
you.
great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.